In this work, we present a method for robust push planning under uncertainty. This is a project done by Mike Koval, Annie Holladay, and Jennifer King. We consider the task of rearrangement by pushing. Here, the robot must interact with one or more objects in a scene in order to achieve a goal. In the video shown here, the robot is tasked with pushing the white box to the goal region. He first moves the fuse bottle, then returns to the box to push it to the goal. Here, the robot is given perfect information about the pose of all objects. In this video, we see another execution of the same trajectory. This time, the robot fails to achieve the goal, and instead pushes the target object off of the table. This failure is due to uncertainty in the system. In particular, three main types of uncertainty exist within the environments our robot is working in. First, there's uncertainty in the pose of the objects in the scene. Second, there's uncertainty in the action execution. The robot cannot perfectly follow a trajectory, nor does it have a perfect estimate of its own kinematics. Finally, because we're planning pushing interactions, there is some uncertainty introduced through the unknown physics parameters. In this project, we aim to augment the existing planner to improve the robustness of the planned trajectories. Our key insight is that some actions are more robust to uncertainty than others. For example, the action you see here has the effect of funneling uncertainty in the pose of the pushed object into a smaller region of configuration space, leading to an action that is more robust. In contrast, the action on the right increases the uncertainty in the system. We aim to leverage this observation and get our planner to naturally select more robust actions, such as the one on the left. Before we get into the details of our method, we take a moment to clearly define the rearrangement planning problem we are solving. We say that we have a target object, shown in green, which must be pushed into a goal region. We may have other objects in the scene that the robot is allowed to interact with. These objects are denoted movable objects and are shown in blue throughout the presentation. Additionally, we may have one or more immovable obstacles. These are objects in the environment that the robot is forbidden to contact. The robot, the target object, and each movable object in the scene are endowed with a configuration space. The state space of our planner is the joint configuration space of all of these objects. We generate plans by running a kinodynamic RRT in the joint configuration space. At each time step, we sample a target from the state space and select the node in the tree that is nearest under a distance metric to the sampled configuration. The distance metric in this case is a weighted Euclidean distance in the joint configuration space. Next, we sample a set of controls and forward simulate the associated action. During this simulation, we use a physics model to model pushing interactions between the robot and movable objects in the scene. Finally, we choose the action that brought us closest to the target. Closest is defined using the same distance metric that we used to select Q near. We repeat this process until the tree reaches a goal in the goal region. The output of the planner is a trajectory like the one that you see here. In the first part of the project, we attempted to characterize the robustness of the resulting plans to uncertainty in a post-processing step. Here we take a plan generated by the planner, sample noise into the start configuration of all the objects in the scene, simulate the planned trajectory, and record success or failure. As can be seen, adding noise to the start pose of the objects causes large differences in the final pose. In this video, we overlay 50 different executions of the trajectory, each with noisy start pose of the objects. We can characterize the robustness of the trajectory based on the percent of these noisy rollouts that result in a target object being inside the goal region. For example, 94% of the rollouts resulted in a goal state, leading us to characterize this trajectory as robust. However, if we start with a different planned trajectory for the same scene, we get vastly different results. Here, less than 10% of the final poses are in the goal region. Similarly, as we move to more complicated scenes, performance can also decrease. We generated 140 trajectories for the scene with one movable object, and 120 trajectories for the scene with 6 movable objects. For each trajectory, we executed 50 noisy rollouts and recorded the percent of these 50 rollouts that resulted in a goal. Shown on the left is a histogram for the scene with one movable. On the right is a histogram for the scene with 6 movables. As can be seen, many trajectories fail regularly under uncertainty. Additionally, we calculated the average distance from the goal of the target object in failed trajectories. As can be seen, this number is fairly large, indicating that objects are far from the goal region during failure. In the second part of our project, we focused on augmenting the planner to account for uncertainty at plan time and produce better quality trajectories. To do this, we augment the planner to plan in belief space rather than configuration space. We represent the belief as a set of samples from the joint configuration space. Using an RRT to plan in beliefs is challenging because the space of beliefs is large. To manage our search, we return to our key insight highlighted at the beginning of the presentation. We know some actions are more robust than others. These actions keep the belief compact rather than spreading the belief. We augment the planner so that we reject all extensions to the tree that spread the belief about the pose of any objects, such that the poses of the object fail to fit inside a disk of radius Rmax defined by the planner. This means that the space of beliefs that we are searching over is reduced to just beliefs that exhibit this R-disk property. We implement a sampling method which explicitly samples object poses in the belief state from within an R-disk defined for each object. To do this sampling, we first sample a center for the disk. Then we sample object poses from a radius R around this center point. We do this for each movable object in the scene to create our final belief state. If we recall our explanation of the planner, we needed a distance metric defined on our state space to select both Q near and an action for tree extension. We tried two different distance metrics defined on our belief space. The first defines the distance between two belief states as the maximum distance between any pair of samples in the belief. The second distance metric matches samples in the two beliefs in a way that minimizes the sum of distances between pairs of samples. This is slower to compute, but provides a better estimate of difference between two belief states. Shown here are the results from our planner. Here we use 10 samples in our belief for planning. As can be seen, the trajectories are comprised of uncertainty-reducing actions. We return to one of the scenes we analyzed in the first half of the project. On the left, we show our original results. On the right, we show results when using our belief space planner. Again, we used our planner to generate several trajectories for the scene and performed 50 noisy rollouts of each trajectory and to record the success rate. As can be seen, we get better success rates when we plan in belief space. Additionally, if we look at the average distance of the target object from the goal in failed trajectories, we see that the average distance is much lower when planning with belief space. This indicates that even in failed trajectories, we are only failing by a small amount. This project has taken an initial step into generating more robust trajectories for rearrangement by pushing. The plan times we see when planning in belief space are undesirably slow, and future work will examine further methods for focusing our search with the aim of speeding these times. However, our initial results using this belief-based planning method seem to be a promising direction. Thank you.